please be informed that okay, he has only 30 minutes to present about his topics and giving back on writing through written, comment, and video. Okay, so please be informed that all participants, please rename yourselves into the real name because we have the observer who taking your attendance, and also kindly mute yourself during presentation. Drop your question or any inquiry that you want to ask in our chat box, and also at the end of the presentation, you can unmute yourself and talk directly. Okay, so now, Brian, now the stage is yours. Okay, please welcome to Brian. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for participating, and thank you, Vantha, for moderating this discussion. So let's see, I know Barbara just presented about using rubrics. I wasn't able to see her presentation, but we talked about it a little bit. So mine kind of dovetails with hers in that I'm also going to talk about a way to give feedback to student writers. And it's important to say that what I am going to present isn't a replacement for rubrics, but can be used in addition to them. So let me get started. I will share my screen and show, there it is, okay. So yes, I'm going to talk about giving feedback on students writing through a couple of remote learning methods. And first, I would like to tell you a little about myself. As you heard, my name is Brian Bouchard, and I am from the United States. I have a master's degree in teaching English from the University of Washington, and I have been an English language teacher for about 18 years. For about half of my career, I've really tried to specialize in the teaching of writing. It's an area that's challenging, but also very interesting to me. And I know that it's an area that students always tell me they need more practice and they would like to get better at, or maybe they lack confidence in their writing. And so the kinds of techniques I'm going to show you, I hope they will help give your student writers more confidence in their writing abilities. And also, I was an English language fellow in Cambodia, in a city called Prevang, from late 2019 until early 2020. And I hope to return in a few months to continue my fellowship. But for now, I'm at home here in Seattle, Washington. Okay, so let's get started with the actual presentation. So as I said, students often have trouble or need more guidance or really could use some support for their writing. So I wanted to talk a little about the writing process first. I'm sure most, maybe all of you know this, but just to review, there's the three kind of main steps of the writing process is students plan and organize their writing, maybe through through outlining or graphic organizers, or just by making an outline and that kind of thing. After that, they write the first draft, and it's often called a rough draft, but I tend to call it a first draft. And after the first draft, they turn it in. The teacher gives some feedback. They can give a grade on the first draft, or they might choose not to. Different situations call for different methods. And then whenever I do a writing assignment that's for a grade, I always have students rewrite and revise. I think it's just a really important part of the process, that fine-tuning. So what I'm going to talk about comes here between the second and third steps, where they've turned in their writing and now you're ready to give them some feedback. I wanted to just mention too, well, here, let me move along. So I'm going to use some examples from actual student writing from Cambodian university students. These were part of a one-off workshop I did at a university. And I actually left Cambodia before I had a chance to edit or mark and return the drafts. So what we did is the local instructor scanned the papers, the copies for me, and sent them to me through email. And then on my end, I had to print them out, and then I marked them, scanned them again, and sent them back by email. So that was kind of a kind of workaround for the, you know, since we weren't able to meet again in person. It does require some technology, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. So the first method I would like to talk about is using written comments to give feedback. Now, whenever I mark up a student's writing, I always make some comments. Maybe I could just write a couple of lines like, pay attention to punctuation, or good organization, or review past tense verbs, and maybe just a couple of notes like that. Because I usually expect to have a chance to work with the students directly, either just while they're writing their draft or in maybe a conference, if time allows for that. But in this case, where in a distance learning context, that's not maybe going to be possible. So what I'm suggesting is using extended comments to give more detailed feedback to students. So as I said, we're going to do this along with rubrics. One doesn't replace the other. And I like to use what's called a compliment sandwich. Many of you may be familiar with this, but if you're not, I'll explain it a little bit on the next slide. And before I move on, the last thing I want to say here is that I recommend using English whenever possible, especially for your comments, that is, especially for higher level writers. But I also think, now I think I said it's okay to use Khmer. I didn't know I would have an international audience, so I'll change that to it's okay to use the student's first language if, of course, the instructor also speaks the same language, especially for novice writers, or if there's some vocabulary like sentence structure and parallel structure and things that maybe the students won't understand in English. I think it's fine. I don't want them to be stressing about understanding the comments. I want them to focus on using good English, or using good English in their second drafts. So, as I said, the compliment sandwich is like this delicious sandwich here. Start with a positive comment. I always start with something positive, and something like, I really enjoyed your writing. Thank you for telling me about this. I liked this detail, or I noticed this aspect of it. And then make one or two suggestions about what they can do to improve their writing. So I've written some examples. I might make a suggestion about grammar. Well, I always try to. Grammar, mechanics, capitals and punctuation, and so on. But I also might talk about sentence structure, how they've organized their paragraphs, and details, supporting details and topic sentences, and so on. But I want to stress that I may not mention every little thing that I found when I was marking the draft, because I don't want to overwhelm, especially novice writers. I want them to have a couple of things they can work on for this draft. And then once they get that down a little better, then on the next assignment, maybe I'll choose something else to focus on. And then I always end with another positive comment. That's the bottom bread of the sandwich. And it can be something very short, just like, good job, keep practicing, keep going, something like that, to let them know that you have a positive feeling about their writing and you want them to keep going and not be discouraged, even though you may have marked a lot of errors and other aspects on their writing. Okay. So here is an example. As I said, it's a real piece of student writing, but I've redacted the name, and in one you'll see later, I changed the name of the university. This got a little cut off, but I hope you can still see enough. I have a system of editing symbols that I use when I'm marking drafts that I've just kind of developed over my years in teaching. So I'll use editing symbols instead of just writing the corrections directly on the draft, especially with more advanced, higher level learners and learners that I have in a class for a whole term, a full semester or a year, where I'm gonna have more time, excuse me, more time to spend with them. In this case, it was a one-off workshop, as I said. They were lower level writers, so I just went ahead and wrote the corrections directly on the page. But I still would like them to rewrite it and not just correct errors, but I want them to make substantive changes. That's a big deal for me when I'm grading second drafts or revisions. I really want substantive changes, so my students all learn what that phrase means. So here you can see it's not too bad. They have a pretty good topic sentence. There's a few little errors, some missing be verb here, word order right here, and a couple of other articles in a verb form. But like I said, I don't want to overwhelm them. So here's an example of the comments I might write. And I'll give you, I'm gonna drink some water while you have a chance to read that. Okay, thank you. So here's and of course, normally I would just write this on the page, but to make it easier, I've typed it into the PowerPoint. So I would say, thank you for telling me about the garden. I can tell that this is a special place to you and other students. And then for their revised draft, I said, maybe try some more revised details. The writer made a very kind of mechanical description, but I would like maybe some color, some sensory details. What can you hear? What can you see? And so on. And then for this comment, I just chose one kind of grammatical thing. I said, focus on using plural nouns. If we go back, you can see where they said, a garden has many plants or many health benefits. So I want them to remember to use that plural S, especially after many when they're using a count noun. And then again, nice work. I'm looking forward to your revised draft. So leave them with a positive comment. So Some advantages and disadvantages of this method are that it's relatively low tech. It requires some technology, but perhaps not as much. Students can, yeah, if you do not have access to a scanner, then just using your phone camera is a possible alternative. But I also know that access to internet is not always possible or can be challenging, especially in rural areas. So that's something to keep in mind. But there are kind of workarounds for some of the technological challenges. Another advantage is that they can have your comments in front of them while they're revising their draft. So they can look at the rubric, they can look at your marks, they can read the comments, and they've got several forms of feedback that they can use when they do their second draft. The main disadvantage, of course, is that it takes time. Now my writing classes are usually around 15 students, maybe 12 or 18, but right around 15. So it takes time. It takes a lot of time even just for a relatively small group. If you have a class of 30 or 40 or 50 possible students, of course, maybe it's not possible, but at least a line or two might still be possible. And because of the time constraints and the effort, if you're writing them by hand especially, it kind of limits how much feedback you can give. So you have to really pick and choose the types of things you want to highlight in your comments. And this is not an exhaustive list. There may be other good and bad things about this method, but I hope this gives you a little bit of a window into how this could work for your classes. Okay, I'm moving right along. I hope I'm not going too fast, but now I want to move into talking about video feedback. This is based on an idea that I read about as a grad student, but I've kind of adapted it for this purpose in a way that I hope will work for your classes. And in this method, you just make a video of yourself while you are checking the draft. So now that doesn't mean that I'm showing myself on the video, but that I have the camera kind of pointing down at the piece of writing, and they can just see my hands and hear my voice. So if you've seen cooking videos online, a lot of times they'll just show the dish that's being prepared, and maybe you can see the person adding some ingredients to the dish. So think of it a little bit like that. What I like about this method is that you can think out loud as you're checking the draft. So you just put it in front of you with the camera on it, and I just use my cell phone camera. And just as you're going, just do the normal marking that you would do, but you kind of do it out loud and kind of talk to yourself as you are, or talk to the student, I guess, as you are checking the draft. Again, you'll see an example of that in just a minute. And just like with writing, I like to use a complement sandwich, but maybe the middle part might be a lot bigger in this case because I'm doing the whole draft. So I did make a short video to demonstrate. Normally I would go through an entire draft, but to save time, I've just checked a couple of sentences in this one, but I hope it will give you an idea. So it's going to take me a second. I have to stop sharing one screen, and then I have to go and share a different screen. Okay. Act if you're writing about the coffee shop on the excellent university campus.
Excuse me, Brian. We could not see any screen. Did you share?
Oh dear. Did I not share this? Let me try again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me try this again. I see. Missed a step there.
We could see the Zoom
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I turned off my video for a second. I'll come right back.
Yep.
Sorry about the technical problem. Let me get in and fix this. Okay, now I need to stop that. And okay, are you able to see the video with a piece of student writing in front of you?
Yes, we are.
Oh, there we go. Maybe turn this on. Are you able to see the video?
Yes. Actually, can be
I'm sorry?
kind of piece of papers only.
Hmm. Can you see?
Yeah, Brian, excuse me. Brian, we can see your videos on a correction on paper, right? But we don't hear the sound. You can restart the share again. And this time when you click share button, look at the bottom left, you will see share with your computer sound. So you check that so we will be able to hear the sound as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
I thought I had that fixed.
Yep. When you click on share, you see the bottom left that say share with the audio, computer audio. There you can check that and begin to share the window you want to share.
Okay, let's try one more time. And I'm sorry we're getting short.
Hello, and thank you for submitting this draft of your writing about the coffee shop on the excellent university campus. I'm going to talk about what you did well in your writing and then go over some corrections and suggestions for your second draft. So first, you wrote excellent university have a coffee shop, but let's say excellent university has because he, she, it, right? Excellent university is an it. Excellent university has a coffee shop near the library because it's one library and we know what we're talking about, so we'll use the article the, near the library. Now, let's see, the coffee shop, you wrote the coffee shop start 22 December 2019. So first we need a past tense form because we're talking about a date in the past. So we could say started on 22 December because we know what date, it's an exact date, so we'll use on there. And I'm just suggesting that you could change started to opened. Opened on 22 December 2019. I'm going to stop correcting right here, but I want to tell you that I like your organization. For your second draft, I would like to see more sensory details about what you might find if you go into the coffee shop. Tell me what you could see, what you could smell, what you could taste, and so on. And I think those little details are going to help enliven your writing quite a bit. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to reading your second draft.
Okay, so.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Okay, we have only 3 minutes to go. And
no problem at all.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to hurry through the last part of my presentation. Just that some of the main advantage of this method, as I said, is that you can give more detailed feedback in a lot longer format. If the students have the video, they can refer back to it as they are writing. And I'm just going to stop there. And there are some challenges, but I hope this method could work as a way to give good support for your students. Thank you very much. So if there's a couple of questions, I'm happy to answer with the time we have.
Okay, thank you, Brian, for your precious and beneficial presentation. So I hope it will work for our teacher in different contents. So now I would love to raise up the 2 questions from our teacher. The first question is from teacher Nong. Okay, what kind of tool you are using to give feedback for your students?
You mean like technology tools?
Yep.
I am just using my phone. I made that video just with my phone. You can see in the video I had a little tripod, but I also tried just stacking it on some books. You know, it's not super high tech. Yes, and I just this video I uploaded to YouTube. It could also have been sent by email directly to the students from my phone.
Okay, thank you. Another question from teacher Danitai. Okay, what kind of feedback do you give to your students?
Well, as I said, I try to give a mix of both grammar and structure and content. I try to give, I try to not only focus on the errors, right, but I want to talk about their overall writing ability as well. So I tend to grade about maybe 80% on content and organization and only 20% roughly on grammar and spelling and so on. So I will mention them, but I don't like to focus on those too much.
Yeah, in terms of video feedback making for students, teacher Vantha mentioned that, do you make every single video for your students?
One more time, I didn't hear.
In terms of making video feedback for your student, he asked, okay, do you make or do we have to make a video for every single student?
Yes, if you're going to do it this way, then yeah, you would need to make individual videos for each student, and that can be time and labor intensive. I understand.
Okay, thank you. I think the last question I would receive from teacher Samnan. Okay. He asked, do we have to correct all the mistakes in writings? If not, what kind of mistakes should be corrected or should be prioritized?
So I'm gonna say it depends on lots of things like the assignment itself and so on. I am going to say, no, you don't have to correct everything. So for example, I might just skip articles in one assignment. You know, it doesn't mean I don't teach it, but maybe I'm not going to focus on that so much. Or maybe I'll just correct the first couple and then for the rest of the video, just say, oh, look, another article or so on. And also, I like to be a little more focused and not just throw too much stuff at them. So I might choose a couple of areas, like I might focus especially on verb tense, or especially on spelling, or especially on verb forms, word forms, and so on, and not try to correct every single thing. But if it's appropriate and if it's what your students need, then by all means you could do that.
Okay, due to the time limitation, okay, so I would like to finish this one. So thank you so much, Brian, okay, for your valuable time to say us, and also thank you to all audiences for joining us. And I would like to inform that our last session, okay, will be on 3:40. Okay, so please join us with the last session, and your attendance is very important, and it can present your certificate. Okay, thank you, and okay, I would like to finish this presentation session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dada.
Yes. Okay, I will switch this meeting off, everyone. Let's see you in the next less than 20 minutes to meet again. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you, Teacher Samnan.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.